40 Haunted House Acrylic Nail Art Tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish. Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be doing a tutorial on this really crazy haunted house that has so many elements to it. There is some glow-in-the-dark stuff, there are some solar pigment, so they react to how much UV they're getting. And the more UV they see, so the more they're out in daylight, the darker they get. So it's this really, really dark purple, almost black, or pretty much clear and invisible. So those are so cool, I've never seen those before. So I'll be showing you some of those, some hollow powders in there, some duochrome. Like I said, all of these elements, it is extremely 3D. And then there is a NFC light underneath the haunted house's windows. So in theory, that little NFC light should flash whenever it's near an NFC device. Now, that was my theory. I tried out these little NFC lights before I did this nail. I have to use my sister's phone because mine does not do that. So I borrowed my sister's phone when I had her and I tested it out and the lights worked. So I'm like, yeah, these actually did what they're supposed to. I make 2 nail designs. I go to borrow her phone again so I can test them out in the design and take the pictures and take the videos and everything for you guys to find out that the NFC lights I have are not that great and they actually have to be touching her phone in order for it to register and to communicate and to flash. So if it's on a nail, there's no way for it to touch the phone because it has to go through a finger and it won't flash. So I'm going to be showing you guys this design anyway, because if you have better NFC lights that work for you, it should work and everything should work out really, really well. It's so disappointing that my lights are not cooperating. So I just want to kind of say all of that quick so you understand, and I'm showing you how you do it with the NFC light so that everything should be perfectly logical for you and make sense. And if you have working lights, go for it. I would love to see pictures. I would love to know how this works out and turns out and everything, because I can't see it with my own. So I hope you guys understand all of that. And like I said, please share recreations with me because I do want to know how this actually turns out. And a lot of the products I'm using today are from Born Pretty Store, not the NFC lights though. I don't know if they have those, but if they do, this does not go against them at all because I've never used theirs. So I just wanted to also say that those aren't from Born Pretty Store, but the hollow pigment, the duochrome pigment, and the little, the solar pigments are all from Born Pretty Store. So I'll show you guys those things. And please, please understand this was, I tried. I crossed my I's, dotted T's. That's wrong. You got the picture. So please share your recreations with me and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well. So here are the things that I'm getting from, or that I got from Born Pretty Store. So I'm going to first show you what the solar pigments look like in the jar, and they all pretty much look the same. So I'm just going to show you the one. So it's a very chalky looking powder, and I'll show you how to use those later. You don't use them like chrome powders or anything else. It's kind of a different method. So I'll show you how to use those in the video. And I'll also show you like a little tester of how they go. So this is a sample nail that I did. So I'm just putting my LED light over it, and as you can see, then it turns dark blue and it almost instantly starts going back to the clear. So if you're out in the sunlight, it'll go into the dark color, and then you come inside and they'll go back to this sort of clearness. So that was all the colors. As you can see, they're all pretty close to like a chalky milky color, and then they get hit by that light and then they get really dark. So it's actually really impressive because it doesn't take much time to get them to be the dark color, and then they really quickly go back to the light color. So it's like a really fast turnover. So it's really cool. And I think I don't know, I really enjoyed using those more than I thought that I would. It's kind of they can be used in a similar respect as like a thermal powder, but they're different. So these are going to be some duochrome powders that I got, and the cool thing with these is that these are like the higher quality ones, and when I got them I'm thinking, okay, I want to test this to see if there's actually any difference between these and the other ones, or if it's just like a fake thing, if it's fake higher quality. It's not. These actually are so smooth. This is the color that I used in the video. There's another one that I got that I'll show you as well, and it is so smooth looking. It is the best mirror powder I've ever used, and it is definitely worth the little bit of extra money. It's like, I don't know, there may be $1 or $2 more than the other ones, but the quality difference is way better. So yeah, if you're looking for them, I would definitely go with the bump up because the powder is much more refined and it just goes over so much nicer. So there's the first color. So that was like a fuchsia to a green or a teal, and then the second color is going to be a teal to a purple, which these are like my favorite color combinations, so I definitely decided to go with those ones. And as you can see, the jars are not completely filled with powder. They're probably about half full, and I don't know gram wise what the powder difference is between the higher quality ones and the lower quality ones. It's possible you pay more for less product, but like I said, they all go so far, and these just are so nice and smooth that to me it's definitely worth it. So I'll try to zoom in. I hate how duochrome stuff and chrome and holographic just doesn't show up very well in videos. You can't even hardly tell the purple part of this, but it is definitely very teal and very purple, and it looks like a beetle shell, which is gorgeous. So those are the two duochrome powders that I got. And then the last thing I'm going to be showing you is a purple powder, a purple glitter, holographic glitter powder. And it's the one that I used for like the starry sky in the background behind my haunted house. And it is, you know, it's very comparable to the other holographic powders, the colored holographic powders I've gotten before in the past. It's a little bit, it's not like a holochrome, which I love those, but it's not like that. It's just like a regular classic holographic. Cure the top coat 15 seconds and apply it, and it goes over really well, and it's got a really nice intense glitter to it. So I'll zoom in and I'll show you this one too. So it's like a bluish purple and then some pink in there, and you know, it's really pretty, as you can see. So then the last thing I'm going to be showing you is actually going to be just a little jar. And in the past, I've sometimes gotten some of these little jars like this and they've been dirty. This one's really clean, so I don't know if they perfected their system, but these jars are always really nice to have on hand for mixing anything, glitter mixes, acrylic mixes, you know, the gamut. So I got a little jar as well. So I'm going to start by sculpting a white circle for the moon in the center of the nail. So the moon is this glow-in-the-dark circle behind the house. It looks really big and it's kind of, I don't know, sort of imposing, I suppose. So I want it to be as wide as the nail. So I'm just going to sculpt that, and I want it to be where I know that the little peak of the roof of the house will fit over. It's got to kind of envision where your house is going to be, and then place your moon in the right spot. And then fill in around that white circle with black acrylic. I'm trying not to overlap any of my white circle because I don't want to have to file it. If you do happen to get black acrylic over your white circle and it's just like, you know what, this is going to need to be filed, go ahead, don't worry about it, and file it later. It's fine. I just was not feeling like doing any extra filing. So I decided I would just be really careful about it. So then I'm just going to fill in the rest of the nail like I said. This is going to get a holographic powder on top of it, so if you didn't want to do the black acrylic, you could even just do it with clear. Then I'm going to take a bead of clear acrylic and dip it into some glow-in-the-dark pigment and spread that on top of the moon. So it's not fully uniform, it kind of has like a foggy appearance, which is going to kind of give it that moon appearance, like that moon depth. You know what I mean. So then I'm going to take some clear acrylic and encase the entire nail, making sure that I go up and over the moon and that everything looks really, you know, even and smooth. And once again, this is kind of like a filing prevention, so you don't have to do way too much filing. So just keep going over that. Make sure that you've got a nice strong nail going all the way down to the tip. You don't want anything to be prone to breakage here. Then after you have that done, you're going to want to go ahead and start actually filing this nail into shape. So I began with a pretty coarse bit, or pretty rough bit. And I'm just going to be going over the entire thing, making sure it's nice and smooth and even and perfect. And you might have a little bit of a bump over your moon depending on how thick your various layers of acrylic are, but since there are 3 different layers on that, you might need to spend a little more time there. And then taking a much finer bit, I'm just going to go over the entire thing and really smooth it out so that it's nice and, I don't know, nice and even and perfect. Just go over all of that. Then I'm going to take my NFC light, which, as you guys know, does not work. I'm going to peel off the backing. At this point, I did not know it didn't work. I was still under the impression everything was fine. And then I'm going to just press it on under where I think the lights of the windows of the moon is going to be. Over the black, so over that little area above the moon, and then over the NFC light, the edges of it, and then down the tip of the nail. I'm going to be applying a layer of no wipe top coat, and then taking that new hollow powder I got, that purple one, I'm going to be, after it's cured 15 seconds, I'm going to be burnishing that in. So only cured for 15 seconds, and don't apply the top coat over the light exactly, just over like the edges of it. So then after you remove the excess, I'm going to be making my little bats that are over the moon, flying over the moon. So I put down a drop of that top coat, and then I'm going to be mixing in some of that solar pigment. So I'm just mixing. I just have a toothpick here that I'm working with, and just kind of try to practice with the consistency. The more powder you have in it, the darker it'll get, and the less coats you have to do. So for me, it was actually just one coat over the bats and they got super dark. So after you have that, make sure that it's still a paintable consistency, though. You don't want it to be like a paste. Then you're going to want to paint your little bats, and you have to use just tiny amounts of gel at a time, because gel in general tends to spread as you're painting with it. And as soon as I go into your lights, you're going to see that they'll darken, and then as soon as you take them out, they'll return to normal color. Then apply a layer of just gel sealer over the top of the entire nail. Now it's time to start sketching out the little blueprint for your house. So I began with just the shape that I want the main portion of the house to be, added a little triangle for the roof, added my shape of my door, and then you need to add not the door, but the window. You need to add the little shapes of the sides. So you need to add triangles for the sides on both for the roof and for the sides of the building for where the shingles are. Now the roof side pieces aren't actually triangles. You want them to be a little bit wider. So then place your nail form backing on top of this and then grab your colors of acrylic. I want my house to be purple, but I'm first going to start making that beginning trapezoid. So I'm going to fill in the window with clear acrylic. This is super important to make sure you have clear acrylic here, because if your NFC lights do happen to work, you need clear acrylic so that the light will show through it. So just sculpt out your window with the clear, making sure that that looks good. And then I'm going to work on the little triangle section that's above this, and I'm going to be adding, there's a little window there too. I'm going to be adding the little windows clear acrylic up there as well. So I just did those 2 little bits of clear just to get that out of the way and let that set before I start adding the rest. So then I'm going to go back to the first piece, and then I'm going to be filling in the rest of that front section of the house with clear, or not with purple acrylic. So I'm just going to take, and I'm going to go right over the top of my window. If you wanted to be careful about it, you could, and then you wouldn't have to file it, but at this point, whatever, I'm just going to end up filing it. So I'm just going to take and fill that in, take that, carry that all the way down to the tip of where your house is. And the good thing about using a nail form backing, which this is a question I get so often, what is that paper you're sculpting on top of? A nail form backing is just a little sticker paper from a nail form. And it's a very, I don't know, it's, if you do nails all the time and you use nail forms, it's something you just happen to have on hand. But any kind of really waxy sticker paper does do the job. So I know that some people have said that they've used the, the mailing, what is it? The address papers when you order something online. Those things are stickers. They come in with packages that you get. Some people, I mean, you can use actual sticker paper. If you've got kids, you probably have sticker paper laying around all over the place. Just anything that's got that really shiny surface on it, and something that is non-absorbent is what you're looking for. Now you can, if you don't have access to any kind of sticker paper, you can also use something like a plastic bag that you have, or that film that they use when they have those projectors. I know that they always had in school. I can't think of what they're called, but those projectors that you could write on with the pens and then it projects onto the wall. That kind of plastic works really well if you have any of that, which you probably can get at an office store. But something like wax paper does not work. Wax paper is absorbent, even slightly, and it will just hang on to your acrylic and it's not going to come off. So you need to make sure that it's something that things just sort of pop off of, which is what a sticker does. So make all of these pieces so far with purple, and then those 2 roof side pieces you're going to want to make with black. So everything else is purple, and then just that little bit of roof you're going to make with black. And I found that my roof pieces weren't nearly wide enough, so you might need to make them a little wider than I did. So just sculpt those out just like that. So everything else was done just with purple so that it was all part of that house. I don't know, I like the thought of having a purple haunted house. It seems appropriate to me. So just sculpt those 2 little roof pieces. Now all these things are really thin, so when you pop them off, you do have to be careful with them. Once they're put together, they're not nearly as delicate, but right now you just need to be careful with them because they're kind of like a potato chip. So just start filing those 2 pieces that have the clear bits in them to reveal your windows. So just file through them, and it's going to take some work, and like I said, you have to be very careful with these. I would recommend using a hand file and just filing a little bit and checking on it because they're going to get really thin. And you can start to see your window showing through and showing up. And then once you have it where it looks clear enough for you and you're like, all right, that works for me, then you can set that aside and you can be done with it. But just make sure that you are being careful with it because it is very, very thin. And then after you've got the window, especially on that front one, you're going to have to file some down below just so that there's not the thick area that wasn't filed and the thin area that was. And then just sharpen up the edges of it as well, which I did to all of the various pieces. I just took and I went over the straight lines just to make sure that they were actually straight. If they are actually straight after you just sculpted them, good for you. Mine were a little bit wavy, and the straighter your lines are, the better everything is going to fit together. So just make sure that you get things put together right. So I'm going to be filing to reveal that other window that's on that top little section, kind of like the attic window, I would say. And then filing those straight lines just like that, and then taking and filing on the other one. So just the roof pieces, those side triangle filler bits, I didn't worry about filing those because those ones aren't as important. So just make sure that the ones that need to fit together nice and square are going to be. So then you're going to take your front of the house, and then I just put a little spacer on there, which is some poster putty. And I'm just going to be, because it's got that angle on it, you need to have a gap from behind your windows, because if you don't have a gap, it's just going to show up on the window that it sees. But if there's a gap, the light will bounce around in there and it'll come out all of the windows. So you need to make sure that there's enough little space in there. So just have that little bit of poster putty as a gap creator so that it is going to fit. And this is also going to make your house so much more 3D. So then I took some purple acrylic and I'm going to be attaching one of those side little filler pieces onto my house and attaching the house piece to the nail. So I got that little bit of acrylic on the other side. Now that one was a little bit too long once I had it on there. So I just took a little manicure scissors and I trimmed off the end of it, which because these pieces are so thin, it's really quite easy to trim them like that. So you don't really have to worry. So I'm going to refit that piece on there and then fill in the gaps around it as well. So I took a little bit of acrylic to sort of tack it in place before I started adding the rest of the acrylic down the seams so that it really is nice and strong. So this, like I said, I really thought this out, making sure there's a gap behind it and then everything. And then for my NFC lights not to work, it was a little bit devastating. So please, like I said, if you do any recreations, I'm begging you, share them with me because I'd love to see how this turns out if you have better NFC lights than I do. And then I'm going to be filling in the bottom gap of it, just like that, and then attaching my roof. Now, because I want the roof to be attached and dry quickly, I'm going to be applying nail glue. So I'm applying nail glue to the edge where it's going to be touching the main part of the house, and then a little bit on the moon. And this nail glue actually dried super fast. I was amazed. Usually this stuff causes me such a headache. And then I'm going to be doing the same thing for attaching my roof pieces. Because they're at such an angle, it just worked better to tack them really quickly, whereas those other ones, it worked to use the little bit of acrylic and then just let it dry. But for this, it kind of does serve its purpose to use nail glue, even though nail glue is just a horrible substance. So glue those on. Try not to glue yourself to the nail, which, as you can see, I did glue that one little rough piece to my glove for a second. And then taking black acrylic, I'm going to be sealing down the edges here. So I'm just going to be sealing it down on the back. Like I said, my rough pieces weren't quite wide enough, so there was a little bit more of a gap in the back there than I would have liked there to be. But it'll work. Just takes a little bit more acrylic to fill them in. Make sure that all your lines are nice and straight there, especially the part of the roof that comes out. So as you can see, the roof does extend past, there's like that little awning. That's not the right word. There's that little ledge coming off the side, and also fill it in at the top, at the peak. And if you wanted, you could also add a chimney to this. That's actually something that I hadn't really thought about too much, but that would be really cute and kind of add to that haunted house silhouette if you had a little bit of a chimney going up there. So then filling it in on the other side, just the same way, making sure that the black acrylic does attach it. You don't want anything here to be falling apart. So don't just trust the nail glue and say, yeah, that's good enough. Definitely add acrylic onto everything so that it's going to really stay together. I'm also going to seal the edge between the roof and the house. So I'm just going to take some purple acrylic there and just fill in that little gap because you don't want a leaky roof, I don't think. And then I'm also going to fill it in underneath on the sides, just like that. Anywhere that's not filled in, if your lights do work, you're going to get a little bit of light leaking. So make sure that that's all filled in. Then I'm going to be sculpting out my little front door with black acrylic. This is the same thing, both the front door and the little shutters that I'm going to be sculpting on the side of the bigger window, which I'm doing right now. Those are going to get some duochrome powder on them that I showed you in the beginning of the video. So those are definitely something that you need to, you could do it with black or you can do it with any color and then paint them black, but it's just easier for me to sculpt them with black and then put the no wipe top coat on there. So I'm doing the other window just like that, or the other shutter on the side of the window. And then I took, on both sides, I just took and made little lines in it with my silicone tool. And then because those little bits of my roof weren't quite long enough and I had to extend it, the bottom edge of the roof wasn't quite straight, so I just took a file and fixed that up. Then I'm going to be adding a layer of black acrylic over the top and then taking and just flattening it out so it's just a nice thin layer, and then drawing in the lines for the shingles on the roof sides. So doing that on the other side as well, adding that layer of black acrylic and then drawing in the little pieces of the shingles. Very quick and easy. Then I'm going to apply a very light layer of gel top coat, no wipe gel top coat, over the top of all those black accents on there. And then curing that, I'm going to cure that fully, making sure that you're not getting any of that gel top coat where you don't want it. If you do, you're going to want to make sure that you clean that up, which I'm doing with just a silicone tool. So just clean those up just like that. And then after that's cured, you're going to want to be burnishing in that duochrome powder. Now, like I said, these are like the premium kinds of duochrome powder. And I actually did think that they were more smooth than the other ones, I guess you could say. So I did think there was a difference. I was thinking, these premium ones, are they actually any different than the other ones? I think they are. I think they're a little bit more refined, so that does actually make a difference. So if you want one that's a little bit smoother, you might want to pay the little bit extra. And then I'm going to be doing details on my house, adding the siding with white, and then adding a couple little black lines to really define some of those shapes like the windows and the door, and making sure that everything is really easy to see. So I also added the little panes in the window. And then I'm going to be applying matte top coat over the top of the whole house, just the purple parts of the house, so not over anything else. I'm going to be applying some gel sealer over the top of the windows and the door and the shutters. And that is it. I hope you guys like this design, even though it was a little bit of a failure. But I also like to share these things because every once in a while somebody will say, do you ever make mistakes? Yes, I do. Not that this was, I don't know if you really want to call this a mistake. It was just a unfortunate incident. But I hope you guys like this design anyway, and please share any recreations with me on Facebook or Instagram. I would love to know how it turns out. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.